So I recently shared this animation on Instagram. And I was surprised by how many people asked me how to create this 2D inserts in the 3D footage. A lot of people actually thought this was in After Effects or in post-production, but it's all in Blender, all completely integrated into the 3D scene, and also that comes with a lot of benefits, and that's what we will cover. So let's say that we want to create annotations for this geometry. So this cylinder, we probably want to show the diameter. So maybe we create a circle around it, and maybe we annotate something on top and showing the diameter or showing the height, something like that. So let's now start with the circle around the cylinder. And to do that, we're gonna open geometry nodes. So we're gonna open here a new window. Just go here to geometry nodes, editor, and let's create, here it doesn't really matter, cube, modifiers, and geometry nodes, new, there you go. And here we can delete this because we're not going to use the geometry that we generated. We're going to generate our own using geometry nodes. So to start, we need a circle. So circle. So there you go. Bam. Right now we have a curve. So the curve is our circle, but we need some geometry, of course. So we're going to turn this curve into mesh. To do that, I'm going to go to curve to mesh nodes. There you go. Now for the profile, we basically need a line to create the thickness. To do that, we go curve line, curve line, and we gonna connect it. Bam, easy. I usually actually like to go direction, and here goes 0, and we gonna just choose a direction, and then here play with the length. Now we would like to animate this. And by animating, I don't mean just, going up and down. I mean just actually filling the circle around it. Go to curve, and we're gonna trim curve. There we go. So now it's easy to animate. We always get this, and just an easy fix is by flipping the direction. So to go in instead of outwards, and there you go. So we have control over the thickness of the line and the radius and resolution. Maybe we want the seam of this to be behind the cylinder. So to do that, we're just gonna do that so we can see where the seam is. I'm gonna rotate this so that it's behind. And I'm going to go end, I'm going to go to the beginning of the timeline, press I, maybe 20 frames, go to 1 here, press I again. So now we have, if we select node, we have, it's animating. Now it's animating very abruptly, and to do that, of course, I'm going to press T and choose Bezier. So this is an interpolation between the keyframes, and now it's much smoother. And if you want to control how steep this curve is, we make sure that here you are in individual centers, and basically just press A to select all of them, all the keyframes, and press S to scale. And basically now we can control how fast this transition happens. So here is a bit more smooth. That's level 1. So let's go another step higher, and this will be using geometry nodes, but also some other methods so that it's a bit more flexible for us to work in the viewport. For that, let's just go here and put our 3D cursor somewhere we want to annotate, let's say there. So now we are out of geometry nodes, and you can go to here, a single vertex, can also go to cube, go to edit modes, press M, and by cursor, so merge by cursor. So now we just have one vertex where the cursor is. Pressing E, we can extrude. So here, and then we just go like that. So create something like annotation. It's not aligned. To do that, we can just select everything, press S, and just scale it so that in that axis that you want to be straight is now straight. Maybe here we can kind of go a little bit like that. It's straight, and just put it back again where it was. It's not very important, but that's it. So if our camera is here, maybe we want to rotate this towards the camera, something like that. Now it's not a curve yet. We need to turn it into one. So we go to Object, Convert to Curve, and now it's a curve. So we select our newly formed curve. We're gonna go again, Geometry Nodes, Create New, and here. Here we're now gonna actually use the geometry we generated now. Trim curve, sorry. And there you go. And here's a big difference between the first method and this one, is that here we are actually using this curve to drive the geometry nodes. So here we can still come to edit mode and change things around, while it's not the case for the first one. For the first one, if we go to edit mode, it's just the original geometry that you use to generate the object for the geometry nodes. So we cannot come here and edit this, while this one you can, so it's a little bit more flexible and a bit more cozy to work with. So let's add to this effect. So maybe we want to create some point at the tip of this curve, so it's more obvious where we're pointing at. And we can do that very easily in geometry nodes. So in this curve, we have 3 points. So 1, 2, 3. And maybe we want to create something on each end. We will basically end up creating 1 point here at the end. And here we're going to use this point to create text. To do that, we go instances on points. So here we're going to use the points of this curve. So after they were trimmed, because we want to also make this interactive with the animation that we'll have. So we're going to go here and pipe these points to here. And now these instances, we're going to join them into the main curve. To do that, I'm going to go join geometry. Then I'm going to join everything together. For the instances, let's say that we create a cube. I'm going to go cube. There you go. So now we are spawning 3 cubes, 1 for each point. But we just want 1 here in this point. And to do that, there's a node, of course, that does that. Say endpoints. So endpoint selection. So if we pipe this selection into here, selection, we now can just choose to, here we choose this point. And if we do that, we only choose that point. And we just make this smaller. Actually, it's a bit too big. It's really meant to be just a small detail. Something like that. Maybe add some material to that. So set material. I think we created before. So this is just an emission material. So now that we know how to create instances on certain points of the curve, we're going to do the same thing, but for the text. This is something I don't really get to see much, and it's super simple to make, especially in geometry nodes. And we've been talking about the foundations to create such thing. So let's go ahead and bring this to a whole nother level. So now for the text, we want to create the same thing that we did for the point here, but with text on the other end. And to do that, I'm just going to Control D this and pipe again the points into the points. And we want here to switch this out. So now we are creating things here in the beginning. In this case, we have the cube, but we want to create text. And here in the geometry nodes, text are a string. So a string. So good, go string. There you go. And now, just like we did for the curve, we need to turn this string into a curve. So we have a node called string to curves. To do that, we pipe this and we feed the curve instances into this instance. So this cube is no more, and just gonna type here, no, Blender is free, which is true. 80. And we turn this 90. Yep. So now it's aligned with our curve. It's way too big. We can also fix that here. Go fill curve, and there you go. So now we can see it's really going against the curve. Here, to fix that, we are going to go to bottom. You have many options here. Here's bottom, works fine for me. And there you go. So now if we animate here, the trim curve, it's following. So another thing to fix is that the text also needs to be animated. Basically going to do the same thing we are doing to this curve, but to the string. So with the slice string, we can basically control the length of the string. So if it's 0, there's no characters. And then in this case, if we have 14, 15, yeah. So we basically want to animate between 0 and 15. In this case, of course, if the string is longer, we have to adjust this value. Let's animate this. We want first to create here from 0. So let's go to 40 and select this. There you go. Now doing the same thing, but for the text. So we go to slice string, and in the beginning maybe will be 0. So 0, I, and 15. And maybe here, when past the bend, we want to start seeing the text. So something like that. Again, T, Bezier. Maybe here increase a bit. Here's not as important, but there you go. So now we have everything animated. And there's another level we can go with this. So using drivers, we can animate something else in the scene, and then the text will react to it. It works super well, and again, I think it's super easy to do. So let's say that instead of Blender is free, we want to showcase the height of this. So we will animate the cylinder growing, and then in the annotation we will say height, and then we'll have a certain value that is driven by the increase or decrease in height. We're just gonna put height here. There you go. And then we will want the value here, and then again close the brackets. Now we cannot do that. We have to first have this in its own string, and then add this back in front. String, join string. In this case, we want to delete that and add another string. So this is basically the join geometry that we used before here, but it's for strings. Here, we want to close the brackets. Here we go. I'm going to do another string. Actually, I lied. It's a value to string. There you go. So now here we want to put this in the middle. So to this value, we're going to add the driver, but first we need to animate the cylinder. So to do that, let's go to shape keys. So data, shape keys, add one, and add another one. Go to edit mode, and we want to lower this face from here to here. There you go. You start with 1. I'm gonna increase the height. Now, this value needs to reflect these changes. To do that, it's, again, easy. Here, we're gonna go to Value, right-click, and copy as new driver. Gonna go to Geometry Nodes, and to this value to string, and to the value, right-click, and paste driver. So we can go to right-click, edit driver. It's taking the average value, but here we actually want to scripted expression because now we can change it. And here the value is the same value as we have here for the shape key. And if you could just click, here is value. So to this value, now we can do some math. When it's at the height, here it's showing 0 because here is the same value as the shape key. We don't want 0, so we want to add something. So plus 2. We can also just do centimeters here. So here we're doing minus because in this case for the shape key we want to invert, and then just plus 2 because I determined that 2 is what I want here, but again it can be whatever you guys want. Another thing we can do is make sure that this, the annotation is parented to this surface. So when it goes down, the annotation also goes down. So basically we need to add the same driver to the Z location of the annotation. So before you do that, let's remember how much we have here. So for the Z location, we have 3.4 meters. So we're gonna remember that. I'm gonna go right click, and paste driver because we're pasting the same one as before from the shape key. And now, of course, we have another issue because it's basically the same information as the shape key, in this case 0. To fix that, we're going to go right click and edit driver and turn this into scripted expression. You can click out and now click again, and now we have the value. We want to plus, so plus the value we had before, so 3.4. So we added 3.4, and we also need to multiply 3.4. So times 3.4, and now everything should go together. Yeah, beautiful. So these were all the tools and techniques I used to create the 2D annotations in that 3D animation that I did. You guys, let me know if you want to see more. I'm not posting a lot here on YouTube, so if you want to see what I'm up to, just go onto my Instagram. Everything is happening there. I hope you guys enjoyed. Subscribe to the channel, leave a like, and I see you on the next one. Peace.